or challenges of the week. What did you face this week that was challenging to you? Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday Transformation. As you know, Vibe Talk always speaks about what's going on in the inside, what's going on the outside, to stay connected. Today is going to be a very interesting subject, and we hope that you will join us this day. Vibe Talk is all about your being able to speak from the inward out and from outside in. Transformation is on Tuesday. I delayed because I forgot what day it was. I'm thankful for having work, because so many people have problems finding work, but I'm thankful for work and being able to have work ethics. What are you thankful for? We want to say thank you to those of you who are listening to our podcast near and far. Thank you, Spotify, iHeart Radio, Apple Podcast, wherever you guys are listening to your favorite podcast. We are there. And if we aren't, let us know. We're Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We are here. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about how our eyes speak. We hope that you will join us this day. Some people say that look in your eyes. Some people say the eyes are the mirror to our soul. Some have even said the eyes speak louder than our mouths. We're going to find out today what your eyes say without you even uttering a word. We want to thank you. We want to thank our audience. We know that you're there. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, what do your eyes say? By the way, on Wednesday Wellness, I'm going to give you an assignment for Wednesday Wellness. And that assignment is going to be you are being able to draw a pair of eyes, however you wish to draw them, and you're being able to say what you need to say. What's in your eyes? We want to get creative. It takes a lot of research to do what I do. It takes a lot of research, not just picking any subject, but being able to certainly have you on the video, or excuse me, okay. We are here, and our podcast is going to bring connection to you. Connection to you. We hope that you will take the time to do the art projects. It's in the eyes. We've talked about the eyes, but today we're going to take a closer look at what our eyes speak. Every emotion shows in our eyes. Every emotion shows in our eyes. That's why we ask, what's the matter? Much of the time. Good morning to my co-host, Trish. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's the sound over there?
It's fine.
So this morning we're talking about it's in the eyes and what our eyes say about us. We're going to think about what others see, but most of all, what it is that we are seeing and feeling and how to stay connected to that. How to stay connected to that. And just want to see that you guys understand the connection to yourself with that. The eyes are a very important part of our body. The eyes help us to see. The eyes help us to understand what it is that we're seeing. How many of you have dreamed at night? You dreamed a dream. And you know you've dreamed a dream because you have sight of that dream. Anybody?
I have.
Yeah. See, your eyes have visual movement even when you're asleep. Your mind has visual movement. The body is impressive. But let's get into the meat of why we're here today on this Transformation Tuesday. See, transformation is all about change. Changing what you're seeing into sights of beauty about yourself, about your environment. Maybe you're not in the best environment, but your eyes are the window to your human house. People have said they are curtains of the soul. We're going to talk about that. You know, our eyes do amazing things. Eyes soften in love. Eyes show anger. They widen in fear. They narrow in suspicion. They roll in expectation, oration, glaze with boredom, and weep in sadness. Did everybody get that? Even if you are a blind person, your eyes can still feel all of these emotions. Imagine that. Imagine that. Our eyes can blink, tear, and even tell if you're lying or not. So if we've got any liars out there, point blank, your eyes will tell the truth. I love it. And the eyes will tell if you're lying or not. How many of you have ever been able to eye contact someone? Anybody when they're talking to you?
I have.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, Eye contacting someone means that I want to look them eye to eye. You've heard of that saying? And the reason I want to look at someone eye to eye so that I can listen with intent to hear. I can feel with the thought of feeling what they feel. Because if I were to look away, I could be very well disconnected. But our eyes connect us, they attract us. Even a blind person can feel emotion even through the eyes. How so? Because when you talk about love, Stevie Wonder says, "Isn't she lovely?" And in order to have written that song without ever seeing, we feel great emotion every time that song is played. So there, the eyes. Looking through the window of your eyes, we are going to draw a pair of eyes. We will not be here tomorrow. Looking through the window, through your pair of eyes. You're going to draw them. And in those eyes, they're going to tell your story, what your eyes have been seeing, past or present or both. So now, this quote, "Through the eyes we look into a man's soul. A man's glance is what is most full of his soul." You ever stared at something in amazement? See, these are all emotions, feelings, and the experience. How many of your eyes have gazed upon a newborn baby? Our eyes are expressive. People even talk with their eyes. Going back to the newborn baby, every time we see a newborn baby, our eyes say, what? Oh, aren't they so cute? Do we not do that? And when we have fallen in love, we look upon that person and our eyes feel the most amazing thing ever. The eyes are very important. They have such power. Wow. When we think about the eyes that flash, sparkle, stare, glare, peer, and even laugh. Some of us even have bedroom eyes. When we stare at a blank, when we are emotionless, we might avoid those things. But our eyes don't lie. They tell the story that your mouth could never tell. They express all the emotions, as we said before. And wow, when we see a crying eye, we're all affected. Because what do we want to know? Why? Why are you crying? Why are you sad? And when we laugh, our eyes either squint or light up. But we wonder why. We even ask ourselves, what's so funny? You ask another person. I can tell by the look in your eye that something was funny even after you come in on the tail end of the story. That look! The first time that I set eyes on him, I was in love. You've heard that before, right? Wow. The power of the eye. Eye language. Eye language is verbal language. It can tell the truth or it can tell a lie. You be the judge of your own eyes. I want you to understand the eye language by this poem that says, let your eyes gaze into hers, let the gazing be a confession. Often the silent glance brings more conviction than words. Language of the eye. Well, what's left? The eye may lie, says Lady Macbeth. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Looks like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. The eyes can lie. The Eagles sang a song, you can't hide your lion eyes, but then others say you can. The eye is not only the window of the soul, but can be indeed your curtain to your soul. How about that? Many people have said about myself that my eyes are expressive. Even in a moment of silence within myself, when someone is speaking and I'm interpreting what they're saying, my eyes tell a story. And I've been told that by more than 10 people. Think about this. If you can use your eyes and not trust your ears, the truth will come out. Here's another quote. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. That's just a quote. If you've ever watched a child, and many of us have had that experience, and saw the look upon them when they're surprised, look into their eyes. When a child is sad but telling you he's fine, look into their eyes. When a child feels hurt and riddled with pain, look into their eyes, for there you will experience that child's soul. We're now going back into childhood. You know, when I was a little girl, my mother could always tell if I was going to be sick or not. How she did that, I have no idea. I could walk into a room and my mother would say to me, you look like you don't feel well. And she would say that even though I wanted to go to the mall, which would be the next day, I knew and trusted that my mother saw it in my eyes. That was always her answer when I would ask her, how did you know? I could look in your eyes. There are even professions where people can actually, on a health level, read your eyes. That's a true thing. You ever heard of that, Trish?
No, I haven't.
People can actually read your eyes through health. They can tell if diseases are present, and don't quote me, but there are people who are trained to do that. But now, when we think about the eyes, dilation of the eyes, blinking, tearing, the eyes go through a lot. The eyes go through a lot. And so we're going to learn about this. We want to be able to think about, do our eyes fool us? Do they tell the truth about us? Do they tell when people are actually lying? You know, there was a man that says, most liars can fool most of the people most of the time. There was another who said, a lie catcher should never rely upon one clue to deceit. There must be many. I like that. The justice system. The eyes play a large part. It relies on the perception of lies and truth. When you disbelieve the truth and believing the lie, that has put the justice system on the face of the map. Think about that. There was a case, I won't name it, that they asked, how did you know that the person was lying when you interrogated that person? They said the whole time they would not look us in the face. There have been specialists who are trained to interrogate people when there is court cases. They need to question, and they know just what to do. Now we're going to talk about the evil eye. The only reason we're going to talk about that because we're going to perceive, we're going to let you look through the windows and the curtain of every eye. You know, sometimes people say, you're giving me the evil eye. You're giving me the evil eye. Have you ever heard of that? Anyone ever heard of that?
I've heard about it.
I'm sorry.
I said I've heard about it.
There, people have said that. Stay with us. They say, wow, you gave me a look that can kill. If looks could kill. Did you know that in some cultures that the evil eye, is feared? The evil eye is feared. We're going to talk about that. In the modern West, there's a superstition. It says for the eyes are not seen as weapons, but if words can wound, then perhaps looks can kill. Think about that. People can give you a look that can kill. Our eyes represent even cameras. You ever taken a picture of something because you wanted to remember? Ladies and gentlemen, our eyes do just that. Our eyes can set our sights on the most beautiful thing, on the most breathtaking things, and even on the most traumatic things. Your mind's eye can remember so much. Very powerful. We know that the eyes indeed is further proof that we were created from the God who sees all, Jehovah God, creating our eyes. Your eyes are simply beautiful in all of its creation. I love this quote, to suppose that the eye, with all its adjusting the focus of different distances, different amounts of light for correction, for many changes, it is a powerful organ with all its transformation that it goes through on a daily basis. Can you imagine if your eye would not progress to see different sights? Can you imagine if your eyes saw the same thing every single day? That would be boring. But yet your eyes, even through the eyes of the heart, a blind person can feel beautiful things, can sense beautiful things, can sense danger. That's amazing. But now, it's how we use our eyes. It's how we're going to use our eyes in our sightfulness. How do you use your eyes? We think about the eyes. No two people see the same thing in the same way. I can put a cup on the table and you say, that's a cup. But I say, yes, it is a cup, but it's a red cup with a handle on it. Do you see what our eyes do? It's a beautiful thing. We need to understand the sensitivity of our eyes. The sun replicates our eyes. Have you ever looked into the sun? Oh no, you say. I was always told, don't look directly at the sun, you'll ruin your eyes. Sit back from the TV, you're going to ruin your eyes. See that sensitivity of the eyes. With all that your eye have seen, you have experienced feelings, emotions, insight. You've learned through the eyes of your window and the eyes of your soul and even the eyes of your curtain to protect those feelings or not. You be the judge. Eyes are indeed sight and emotional expressions. They ought to be highly valued. If you've ever noticed a blind person, blind people simply amaze me. And they say they have a disability. Wow, just looking at a blind person brings me so much inspiration. Notice how they get around. Notice how they protect fight that they don't have. It is amazing because, see, they are able to feel the same emotions that you feel. You seeing person, you. What do you think about it? They are eyes of wonder. Eyes of wonder. How many things, and I want you to make a list of this while we are discussing it, has your eyes captured? I want you to make an individual list as you draw your eyes. Include a list of the things that you've seen in your lifetime span. You want to be a little more artsy with this? You can draw a timeline from the time that you've been born and that you've calculated your memories. Because some of us can remember far back as 5 years old, especially if something traumatic has happened. But they're going to be the eyes to your story. And if you share it, we'll throw in a t-shirt for you. I promise we will. Think about that. Your eyes. Your eyes. We're going to talk about your eyes. Because sometimes you say, I could see the sadness. I see the sadness in their eyes. And we do see the sadness in their eyes. But what about you? What's in your eyes? Trish, do you have anything you want to say at this point? Just jump right on in.
I guess I'd say that this topic is surprising because I wasn't expecting this topic. And there's a lot that the eyes can tell. Like, as we would say in my generation, the eyes are highly exposing you or they're snitching on you,
Mm-hmm.
in your emotions and how you feel, even though I'm one of those people that try to hide my emotions, but you can see it, through the eyes. Like people can see you didn't say anything. You don't have to speak how you're feeling. It's like people know by just looking at you. And like that's the power of other people's eyes as well, because like they can see another person if they choose to see. They choose to see another person is going through something and they're like, oh, I see that they're troubled, and they ask, why. And I think, you know, seeing what you want to see is another thing too. Like it's like, yes, we all have the ability to see something, like something important, but there are other people that choose to ignore what's in front of them, to see the view that's in front of them, and that's important too.
I'm so glad you brought that out because that goes into my next point. Choosing what you want to see. Seeing only what you want to see. It isn't that it's there, but your choice is to ignore it or to deny it. We're talking about your emotion and your mental health, your well-being, which is why we're going to cover Wednesday Wellness this day as well, because your well-being is all about getting, staying, and being well. So what are you seeing in your eyes? Some people have fatigue. Some people have allergies. Some people have uh, dark circles. Some people have red, sleepy eyes. How many of you have had sleepy eyes?
I have.
Yeah, me too. Lack of sleep, bloodshot eyes. The list goes on and on and on. Sometimes our eyes are bloodshot not because we've been drinking and at an all-night bar, but because we're just simply tired. They provide, as Trish said, clues. Clues about what our mental state is, what our emotional state is. We talk about ourselves in that we talk about feelings and emotions. Trish said she was surprised that we brought this up. That shows you that a lot of times when I'm researching something, I will just research it without anybody knowing that I'm going to do it. But I thought this was important because your eyes is your body system. It's part of your body. It's housed in your human body. So why not talk about it? The appearance of our eyes can tell a lot about us, our mental, our emotional status. Our eyes also reveal something about you and I, if we're going to engage in something or if we're interested. Right now, your eyes are saying if you're interested in this program or not. Your eyes require to focus. Your eyes require to focus. Sometimes we lose focus. You ever tried to concentrate on something? Or have you ever played the don't blink game? I love to do that a lot with kids to see how concentrated they are. Ask them. Let's see how long it will take you to blink, or you play a game with them and they try really hard or you try really hard. Our eyes blink so many times per second and we don't even notice it. I want to go back to what Trish said about the not notice, choosing not to notice. Sometimes our eyes don't let us see clearly what our environment is. What is your environment as you look in your eye? What is your environment? Are you noticing it? What are your relationships? Are your relationships clear? Is your sight and your relationships defined clearly for you? But you're still there or not? Is your insight, because we want to talk about insight as well. We want to include that in this segment of this podcast this day. What are you seeing during these times? Do you choose to look away? Do you choose to avoid contact? Or is there a disinterest or lack of engagement? You know, I've seen many couples who, and I've worked with couples who are, in fact, have lost interest in one another. You know it because you see them speak. They won't even say what their eye is seeing. And the only thing that I ask, that if you're working with me personally, that you really let your eye tell the truth. Your insight, your perception into the way that you are seeing things. You say, but oh my gosh, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to say what I feel. But your eyes are not. Because your eyes are seeing it each and every day with no change. Now, how would it be for you if I were to tell you what your eyes see? You'd say, well, they're my eyes. You don't see what I'm seeing. How many people have said that? You ever heard that saying? You don't see what I see?
Yep.
For you say, it'll get better. When indeed the inside says, no, they have to choose to get better. No, but you say, I've stayed 14, 15, you've stayed even 20 plus years, months, 20 days too long. But you keep saying it will change. Well, eyes never lie. Or do they? We're going to talk about insight. I want you to be thinking about this and how you are seeing what you see, because we all perceive things differently. We're going to get into that in just a little while. But now, if you've ever been to the doctor and had any kind of eye work done, the worst thing that I hate about an eye doctor, or I don't hate the eye doctor, but I hate this process of eye dilation. Any idea why there's eye dilation? Anybody?
I have no idea.
The doctor is able to look into your eyes better. Your eyes, when they are dilated, they can look into your eye better. When they put those drops in your eyes, your muscles, your vessels around the eye calm down, and they can look into that eye. That's how they know if there is something wrong with your eye in a physical sense. Eye dilation. What do you think about that? How many times do we do that to ourselves? Kind of give ourselves a little boost into examining what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. We just keep seeing it, and yet we do nothing about it. Can you imagine our eyes being dilated? Because when I was a little girl and I went for eye exams, I hated that part, because you didn't know how long that was going to last. What if it never wore off? The relaxing of your eye pupil, your vessels. How would you feel? How would life be for you? Could you focus? You wouldn't be able to function as well. Are you in a non-functioning environment? When I say non-functioning, that it is not conducive for your insight, for those eyes that are encased in your human house. What are your eyes communicating? See, we need to understand that our eyes are valuable. You know, it's self-expression. And when we talk about the physical part, the beauty parts, some of us accentuate our eyes by putting makeup on, because why? We want to extend our lashes. We want to darken our brows, or make them thinner. We want to put on the eyeshadow. But I want you to think about your life's dress up. Because under all of that exterior, you have your natural wonder of the eye. What are you seeing? I'd love for everyone that is going to hear this podcast in one way or the other to please, please think about it. Your eyes, what they're what they communicate. They are very, very powerful. They can powerfully interact. What are your eyes saying? Or have you even noticed? We're going to talk about that. Your eyes can show an array of emotions. Excuse me. You can look into someone's eyes. You can gaze about their eyes and notice. You can see love in their eyes. You can see hatred in their eyes. You can see a rainbow full of emotion. I want you to be able to look at that, and I want you to be able to say to yourself, what do you see in your eyes? Your eyes that convey emotion. Your eyes speak volumes. And you're able with those eyes to read other people's emotions through their eyes. Isn't that remarkable? What do you think about that, Trish?
I think that's amazing, especially because, like, many people aren't comfortable with communicating their actual feelings, and it's like you can tell by just, looking at them.
We're going to go over some very important factors, and we're going to help you to understand the eyes. Don't be surprised if you discover things about yourself. The eyes are our window of communication. We talked about lying and the body language, and here's what it says from an FBI officer in a quote. If a person's eyes move up and to the right when you ask him a question, he is more than likely lying. If a person's eyes move up and to the right when you ask him a question, he is more than likely lying. This is from an FBI officer. If the person looks up and to the left, he's probably telling the truth. But notice this, it's important to realize if a person looks around, he's not always lying. Remember that. So don't accuse your kids or your parents or your mates, boyfriends, girlfriends of lying because they're looking around. They too are processing information. Like, why are you asking me that? How many times have we asked that question or said that? Let's talk about stress. We blink from 8 to 21 blinks per minute. Pull your chair up a little closer. We blink between 8 and 21 blinks per minute. Sometimes when under stress, we're asked questions that seem challenging, you know. We start blinking. We want to think about the increased rates of how many times our eye does blink. How many of you have ever had eye twitching? Because I want to talk about that too. Eye twitching. And you say, wow, why is my eye twitching? You ever had that experience?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Did you ever find out why it was doing that?
Um, Sometimes my eye twitches because of my eye condition.
Okay. My eye, thank you for that, Trish. My eye twitches when I'm under stress. My eye twitches when I am under stress. We're not saying that could be the main cause, but we are saying just between Trish and I asked her about that experience. She told me why, and I just told you guys why. But stress can do that. How many times have you guys been disgusted by something? It's disgusting, and your eyes get narrow. Oh, goodness, that was so disgusting. You ever played the game Bamboozle with Jelly Bellies?
Yes, I
How
have.
did you feel about that game?
It was scary because you never know which jelly bean you're gonna get.
Yeah, so you were afraid. So when you got something nasty, how did it make your eye feel?
Um, I squinched it because it was nasty.
Yeah, disgusting. Like lemonade. You know, I call lemonade can be very delicious, terribly made, or just in between. Now, when you've tasted sour lemonade, tart lemonade, your eye does this thing like you've just got a shockwave. If we've ever experienced that, then it's a reaction. What our eyes do is react to words. And the point of this podcast is to help you to react to sights that you've seen. You know, you will have a story to tell, and we want you to get in the groove of understanding the idea that we are trying to convey to you. This disgust that we're talking about, or this reaction, I want to say, is more than a person's true emotions. By looking at a face, you say, wow, you know, if a baby's ever had something sour for the first time, or something nasty that they think like green peas, that's always the baby food that gives them that reaction. That's nasty. Or they'll spit it out. Watch their eyes. We want you to understand that the eyes have reaction. How many times have you felt discomfort? Maybe you've had a surgery. Maybe you've had an injury. Maybe you have pink eye. If you've had all three that I just mentioned, then you understand that is discomfort. How many times have you been discomforted and your eyes spoken and people say, what's wrong? And you say, finish my sentence, Trish. When somebody says, what's wrong? You say,
I feel uncomfortable.
or nothing. You say, nothing's wrong, right? You feel uncomfortable. And we just gave you a choice of what you could say. Because you see, your eyes are the reaction to what you are seeing. We may not see it, but your eyes tell a story. How many times have you covered your eyes in a scary movie, or you know something's gonna happen and you say, I don't want to see it? and you immediately start covering your eyes. Anybody ever done that?
I do that a lot.
Yeah. And what is one thing that you do that a lot about? Covering your eyes so that it doesn't see.
I do that when I'm shy. I just don't. I cover my eyes because I'm shy. Or when I see something scary, I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to see it. So I cover my eyes.
Yeah. Blood makes me do that. One time my son was hurt and he had gotten a cut, and this cut would squirt out blood, and I had to rush him to the hospital. If there's an emergency like that, I'm the last person you'll ever want to take. Don't take me, because it'll be all worse for you. Want to take somebody that's calm, cool, and collected. I am not. So when I brought him the towel to wrap around his injured arm, because he had just cut his arm accidentally, I was trying to look away because it was just uncomfortable. How many times have you done that in your lifetime? Looked away, covered the curtain to your soul? Because, see, you know it's there, but you refuse to address it. I say, what's wrong? You say, nothing. Are we grabbing the point that it's so important to talk about what makes us uncomfortable? We just demonstrated it to you. I get very squeamish. So again, don't pick me if you ever want to do something that has medical, because I can't take it. I can't. How many times when we have to have a shot and the needle goes in our arms, we look away? For those of us who are squeamish, I look away.
Me too.
Yeah. How many times have you looked away and you've said, ouch? How many times have you done that? And you shut your eyes as you look away. See, we do that. What is present in your life that's causing you to say, ouch, and look away, so that you won't see it? Happiness. We think about happiness. That's a feeling we all want to talk about. When we say, remember that time when you were happy? You could almost name it instantaneously. Because, see, we're geared. We are created with the thought of happiness. When we're babies and our parents are talking to us, babies smile. They're happy. That's how they let you know they're happy. You see them. And every culture of mother does the same thing. Happiness. See, we want to get to a time in our lives where we are happy. In order to get there, we must be the people who detect through our own eyes that we are happy. Now, I'd like to leave you with a question to think about. Are you present in this moment? And if you are present in this moment, are you presently happy? Happy. Could you be more happier? Or is this the happiest you've ever been in your life? 3 questions there. So let's go on to the next. Fear. Trish, you mentioned fear. Fear to look at something, fear to try something. We all have that. I think that everyone who comes into this room can say their number one emotion is fear of something. If I were to ask you what you were afraid of, your mind's eye would recall that thing that you're afraid of. Some of us are afraid of the unknown because our eyes have not set sight on what it is that we're afraid of, but we're afraid. I want you to get to know and talk about your fears. Talk about them as if they were right in front of you, right there in your sight. I want you to talk about that. What are your fears? And if you are fearful, it's in the eyes. It tells a story of that time that you were afraid. It's the body's normal reaction. But now, as it is a normal reaction, why do we even need to discuss it? Because some of you have not discussed your fears. That thing, you know that thing that you were afraid of. You know that thing that happened. And every last one of you who have come into this podcast or who will come into this podcast has that thing in which you're afraid of. Some of us are afraid of fear itself. People say, what are you afraid of? Fear. I say, why are you afraid of fear? Because I'm fearful. I say, then what makes you fearful? Fear. Now, it sounds like I'm talking in circles, right? But you must identify what your eye sees. The eye is the mirror to your soul. How many times have you heard the word stay focused? Stay focused. Stay focused.
I've heard it a lot, especially from myself.
You've heard it? Yeah. The times that we hear stay focused is during a test of trials, when we're on the road. That's why we don't talk on our phones, in our hands. We don't while we're driving because we're not focused. If someone were to say, oh, guess what happened? The normal reaction is to be unfocused from the road. That's why you have the rule of not using cell phones while you're driving. So we want to stay focused. We want you to be able to stay focused so that you can see in the distance what you can become. Stay focused. Stay focused on understanding yourself as opposed to anybody else that you're trying to stay focused with. Your emotions are deeply expressed through the eyes of your window. I'd like to say that with your eyes, with your own eyes, that you can perceive things the way you want to, because no two people see the thing exactly. No two people see the things exactly. Whatever that thing is, Your eye is body language. Your eye is body language. Your eyes. So, when we look into an eye, let's think about that. We are going to have perception of the eyes because I ask you to draw your eyes in the way that you perceive them. And I not only want you just to draw the eyes, but I want you to think about what your eye has seen. How many times have we seen images? We just can't get the image out of our head. For instance, food commercials. You see a you see a hamburger and it's oozing with cheese. 2 patties. You're not even hungry, but the fact that you've watched a 60-second commercial, your eyes start to believe what about yourself, even when you're not.
That I'm hungry.
That you're hungry. See, the advertisers are smart because you know what they do for your site? They use color and they use expression. The cheese was the expression because it's oozing down the burger. You will literally go if you tell your mind, that you're hungry because of what you just saw and react to that hamburger commercial. Happens all the time. Why do you think that there's so many varieties? There's just not one thing of something. Yeah, your eyes. Your eyes have personality. Did you know that your eyes could even betray your thoughts? How many of you knew that? That your eyes could betray your thoughts. Wow, that's amazing. The eyes are simply amazing. Here's what it does. You know that thing about the window into your soul? Our eyes reveal deep emotions. Sometimes we want to hide them behind the curtain of our eyes, but no. We want to learn from this and ask ourselves some questions of discovery. And I won't tell you what they are. I want you to figure them out. Trish, do you have anything you want to say right at this point?
I just wanted to say that even when you're describing the cheeseburger, it's like my imagination envisioned it and it made me hungry. And it's like, that's like insight of like in your imaginations, your imagination is like your inner vision in a way because like even though an image is not in front of you, like the description, it paints a picture in your head because you've seen it before and you're like, oh, okay, I know what this looks like, and that's also the power of, your eyes and your mind and your imagination. Your vision and your mind is so connected.
Yeah, isn't that true? In fact, the eyes are uh, not only the reflection of what's happening in our brain, but it also influences how you and I make decisions. Our eyes constantly move. You could be dead in a conversation, and if someone is moving in your peripheral vision, you're going to take a moment to look at what that is in your peripheral vision. We do that subconsciously. and consciously we do that. We make quick eye movements. We talked about that. What we must understand is our process, our thought process, how that affects us. We see sight. We react to sight. We give emotion to the things that we're seeing. You go to the zoo and you say, oh, look at that. Whatever it is, we do that. We're amazed at the things, the beautiful sunsets, the night sky. We do that. We see with our eyes. Even though we can't count all of the stars, we try and try. If you're like me, I've been trying for years, and I give up past 10. There's so many stars. We're so grateful for those. Now, we want to think about how these things help us remember and make decisions. Do you remember that time when you made the decision to do whatever it is that you've done? How did it fare for you? What happened? What do your eyes remember? See, your eyes have drawn up information to what I just said. I said, pull up your chair a little bit closer. Do you remember that time when you made that decision and that thing happened? Now you're drawing up information for your memory bank to go back. Your eyes have reacted to what I've said, but your brain, we've talked about our brain, so why not our eyes? Your brain has seen information about what I just said, whatever it is, because all of you are going to have something different if I were to ask you to write that in a blank. Remember that time when that happened? So you start to remember the thing that happened. See, I didn't ask you, do you remember that time you failed? Do you remember that time you stood up? I said, do you remember that time? Your brain starts to go back in the memory, in its conscious memory, and draw up what you see at that moment. Powerful indeed. Powerful, powerful. So we want to think about the things that we see. Think about our decisions. Let's remember that. Let's remember the power of the eye. You know, if they can make apps for everything, our eyes can be like those apps. We have our own internal app of the things that we see with interest or disinterest, the things we remember. And that is how we react, because we can say, well, we've seen this before. That's impact, ladies and gentlemen. Impact. How we remember what we're remembering is impact. Remember the cheeseburger we talked about and how we respond to it? We want you to understand it and how it works within you. How it works within you. So how does it work within you? Your emotions can be seen through your eyes. We're going to talk about insight because I think it's real important, because we're talking about seeing. See, we're not going to give you answers to what you might be seeing right now. We're just going to motivate you to change the way you might see something. Because perhaps your sight has been impaired. Perhaps you can't see it at all. Perhaps you see it and ignore it. Or perhaps you're seeing it and you say, I want to make that change. Well, insight. Insight is to be able to have deep understanding. Deep understanding. I ask you the question, what are you seeing? I'm going to turn it over to Trisha's treasures now.
So in art, we did this thing called pointillism, and what it is you put two primary colors next to each other in a bundle of dots, and when you step far away from it, red and yellow, it'll make orange. You'll see orange, not red and yellow like beside each other. And so it's crazy how it worked, because I said to my teacher, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't see how this is going to work. And she said, she was like, just try it. Just go ahead and try it. And she was like, I'm going to show you how it's going to work. And so what I did, I made a sunset. That's what I made. And she was like, okay. She said, step back, like stand next to me and look at your picture on the wall. And I was like, okay. But in my mind, I was like, this just looks like a bunch of dots together. It doesn't look anything like a sunset. So I stepped back with my teacher and I was like, oh, it looks orange. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I said, wow, that's amazing. And so we know how we want things, and we know how we see things, and we can change our points of views in things, not with just art, but with other things like how to interact with people and how to just express ourselves, and that has a lot to do with our insight and what we see on the outside, physically, and how we feel, because how we feel is how we focus, how we feel about things is how we interact, and like it has a lot of motivation to our interest in life, how we see things, and if we're interested in it, that's how we focus on things. So know your interests, pay attention to what you are focused on, and there's nothing wrong with shifting your focus on something new, something different, just like I had to. I had to change my stubborn mindset into saying it's just two dots together, it's not gonna change. I had to step back.
Say that again, Trish. We cut off for a second. That last.
Okay. I said I had to step back and look at it in another point of view.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I love that. We want you today to think about motivation, motivating you to be your best self, motivating you to not take for granted the things that you are seeing with your physical eye, and bring insight, deep understanding to those eyes and how you see things. What you see, we want you to be able to communicate and discuss. Sometimes, a lot of the times, Vibe Talk involves your being able to process going back in your mind and thinking about the way you saw things. Why do I say going back in your mind? Because really, when we were children, that's where it all started. How we saw things, you know, whether it's something good, something bad, to be able to communicate with full expression comes out. In those eyes, the way you see things may not be the way I saw it. You know, some of us have same color eyes, but we don't see things the same. Isn't that amazing? Our eyes have personality. Our eyes express emotion. Our eyes are very powerful. What my hope is for you on this day, this Tuesday transformation, is that you will see change. To transform your life to be the best that you can be, whatever that may be, through my eyes and the way that I see things. I've had to make changes. What has not been comfortable for me, I'm not a gullible person. I have made alterations to the way that I vision things. My envisioning is better than what I have visioned for myself yesterday, a month ago. I now vision for myself something better. Something better is in my sight. Whether it's people, relationships, work, choices, decisions, I've been able to work on myself, and I'm so grateful. And I will continue to gain insight to how I need to work on myself. Maybe not the way you see me working on myself, but I'm doing that. I've just in the last couple of days made some decisions that are not necessarily in my best interest. And so when I'm making these changes, or you see someone making these changes, acknowledge that you see that with your eyes. You only have two of them. Some of us need an extra pair of eyes. And that's true in all our lives. For those of us who wear glasses, for those of us that say, hey, come here, I want you to see something. You're asking for that extra support, extra pair of eyes for support to help you see it clearly. Did you know that Vibe Talk helps you in that way? Vibe Talk. Yes, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion is always able to help you as a second pair of eyes. No, we're not going to be your glasses. We're going to be the second pair of eyes for you. If anyone wants to have a one-on-one with me where we talk without the cameras, the lives that we do on our Facebook page, get connected with me. 661-503-8993. We also accept texting and voicemail. What I wish for you today is to close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes and envision yourself walking along a path. And the more that you walk, the more clearer your vision is. You see it? It's ahead of you. All the beauty that you see, the smells that you smell. Oh, listen, do you hear that? Now open your eyes. We're talking about you. The journey to get connected to you. What are you seeing? I ask you. I want to thank you all for joining me. If you are listening to this podcast and you find it, please let us know what state you are from. We'd love all states to come in. We mentioned your state and shared with your friends and family members. Our last question of the day is, what did you learn and discover about yourself? Since we're interactive, we'd love to find out what you discovered. Talk to us. We are an interactive podcast. Trish, what did you learn and discover about yourself? And how did you feel?
What I learned and discovered about myself was that, you know, I always wondered why people would say, "What's wrong with you?" Maybe, and I'm just, thinking maybe they see it not in my facial expression, but through my eyes that there's something wrong with me. And my eyes do betray my thoughts. So that's what I learned today. And my experience here today, it was enlightening because, there's so much to just eyes. There's a lot going on with our eyes, and our eyes are amazing, and our eyes are like our inner camera. We see it and we focus and we see what we see. So that was my experience here today.
Thank you so much to my amazing co-host Trish. Thank you, and thank you for your Trish's treasure. I have learned that what I see can sometimes be impaired by sight not seeing clearly. I need to have clear understanding of what it is that I'm seeing, because in the eyes of my mirror or my soul, if it is that I'm seeing what I'm seeing, then I must believe that. So for me, the discovery of what I'm working on, and that's my internal self, what I'm working on is the outcome and the long range to be able to see clearly and make and focus on the decisions that I make clearly, being able to see with insight more clearly. And my feelings here, I think this is a podcast for everyone and anyone. You can perhaps even take parts of this and discuss it with your families, because it's a good topic, and I'm glad that I chose it. I'm glad that I chose it. I want to thank everyone again. I wish that your changes are going to be for the good, your transformations and your wellness for the good. Perhaps you're already well. Perhaps you've been working on wellness. If you've been doing that, I want you to embrace that. But in the meantime, I ask that you really pay attention and see the bigger picture of these podcasts and how the eyes are very much. Trish, let me ask you something. Did you ever think that we would talk about the eyes in this way?
Nope.
Yeah. Was a surprise to me too, but something really touched my heart, and the eyes say so much. So we ask you, what are you seeing? We hope that you'll join us on another podcast. If we could get this one on YouTube, that would be grateful. We would be grateful to you, Trish. Thank you so much. And I will post it to our pages so that you guys find it. By the way, we have YouTube. Take a look and a listen to us. We thank all of you who have been looking at our reels. I did a reel this morning, but I think I'm going to change it because I see something that I didn't add, and so I am going to change it. I think it's important, and it's in the eyes. Thank you for joining our podcast, Facing Vibe Talk, Facing the Lion. Thank you for joining us. I wish you much change in your life, in whatever decisions you are making. Thank you once again. Really got the vibe with it. I took my time with it. I really love